This probably will be a very controversial topic, depending on how you look at it. But it's not to, by any means, call anybody out, but it's just something that I've seen from my general observation when it comes down to the elements of work life balance. And I feel like, depending on what side of the scope you're on, if you work a 9 to 5 or an entrepreneur, or maybe, continuously putting yourself through school or something of that nature, what is really work life balance and is it a thing? And I'll be completely honest with you, from my position in what I do here with the podcast, the Mitchell Port Unleashed podcast, and for everyone that's, tuning in, like, comment, subscribe is the most important thing, is what is work life balance? And I feel like some cases, if you work a 9 to 5, you may hear this a lot of times where work-life balance is a thing. You work for your, 4 to 6 to 8 hours, depending if you're part-time or full-time, and that you have that balance between what you do when you clock in versus you clock out. And I feel like if you're an entrepreneur or a content creator, you'll understand there is no such thing as work-life balance. For my entrepreneurs, it's really easy to speak about this, that we're continuously running around the clock. Now, that's building your business from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. And I feel like some folks that may potentially have a conflicting situation with that is some folks in the 9 to 5 don't understand what a work-life balance is, because they're constantly just working, right? They may not have time to escape. That's the reason why you may have vacation days, or you have mental health days, or you have voluntary time off days and things like that. That's one thing. But when you're an entrepreneur and a content creator, listen, you just heard me say it. There's no such thing as work-life balance, man. You're constantly building your brand. You're constantly making things happen, making motion happen. And some of the greatest entrepreneurs and success stories, you hear a lot about the time and the energy and the sacrifice they've put in. I'm no exception to the rule. I may work a 9 to 5, but accordingly, I have to simply sit here and plan and structure out what this podcast looks like and how I map it out. There's no such thing as work-life balance when you're building something on the outside. And I think that's where a lot of people get intimidated, and a lot of people don't understand really the ability it takes. It requires a lot of time. Yeah, there's 24 hours in a day. You hear me say this. You make time for the things that are important. Correct. But when you're building constantly, it ain't only the 40-hour work weeks that we're putting in of a 9 to 5. We're putting another 15 to 20 to 30 hours into what we do. Now, some folks might say as well, Rory, how do you balance life and, friendships and relationships and, finding time for yourself? 9 times out of 10, it's setting an accordance. My podcasters know this. My content creators know this, especially if you're talking into a camera, talking into a mic. You got to batch record a lot of your stuff, right? Batch recording. Myself, value, tips, I have at least 3 to 5 episodes batch recorded to be dispersed to the whole entire ecosystem. I'm no exception to the rule, but that's what frees up my time. Doing my own editing, making sure I'm doing my own uploading. No fancy teams around here. But that's because I know what it is I want. I know where it is I'm going. So when I hear people say, oh, I'm doing this on the weekend, I'm doing that on the weekend, I'm doing this on the long weekend, I kind of sit back and I go, okay. But that's for folks that are probably in that everyday hustle and bustle of the 9 to 5. They may not understand what it's like to have weekends where you're editing, have weekends where you're simply sitting here throwing out a dozen to half a dozen to 20 to 30 different emails. They don't know what it's like to edit your own clips to be posted on 3 different platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, uploading on YouTube, YouTube Shorts, all that good stuff. Because they think that, oh, well, he's just working. He's got a team. Maybe he works from home. Maybe he has to commute to work. Well, he's got his lunch breaks that he can do his editing. Not necessarily. I got to be very strategic about my time. Because when I work, it's work. There's no time that I have to be able to simply sit here and copy and paste and edit and do this. Because I got to be solely focused on work. That's the bread and butter. That's the 9 to 5. And I think what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs or creators or people that want to take a step away from the 9 to 5 is they don't know about that geographical balance system. That's why there's no such thing as work-life balance from my point of view. Whatever you're wanting to do, look at the greats. Michael Jordan. Do you think Michael Jordan had a work-life balance? Kobe Bryant had a work-life balance? Roger Federer had a work-life balance? Patrick Mahomes had a work-life balance? Tom Brady had a work-life balance? Not necessarily. They had to simply sit here and grind. Now understand, what does that mean? They're professional athletes. They were born and built to do this. Correct. But they had their times. Those athletes that I spoke about, understand this. Most likely they were up first thing in the morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, right? The first thing they're doing is they're going over film study. They're going through training. They're going through recovery. They're going through more training. Majority of professional athletes are training 3 times for the day. Sometimes 4, right? So I think some people look at the mental muscle and they think when you're looking at game tape or you're looking at breakdowns of certain plays that you got to call with depending if it's basketball or football or tennis and studying the opposition when you go to play a tennis tournament, that you don't have to do studying. That's a mental task. So many people think work-life balance is living a luxurious weekend where you're going away to trips, weekend trips with family, with friends. You put your feet up, you're on a campfire, you're on a beach, you're at a cottage. Yeah, those are all the fun, lavish things in life. But the ones that are building, the ones that are in entrepreneurship, the ones that are in content creation, we don't got time for that. Now, it'd be nice to do, but sometimes we got to make a pass. I know my said creator friends right now, full out relationships, marriage, kids. And you know what? They sometimes have to skip a lot of things because they have a task, they have a mission at hand. That mission is to dominate, to conquer, to build. I've been around people that have simply will talk you out of what it is you're doing. Now, those could be those friendships. Man, all you do is work. Man, all you do is content create. All you do is podcast. You got to ask yourself this question. Are those people you really want around you? Because eventually, they don't understand the plight. You got to want this when you're talking about building a legacy for yourself. Protecting and building still your last name continuously through the ecosystem. You got to really want it. You got to really bite down on that mouth guard. You really got to pull up those socks, pull up those underwear, and really set the task. Yeah, somebody from my point of view, I get 2 days off. But what am I doing with those 2 days off? Building connections. I'm not an Android robot 37, but I know what it is I want. That's why I've always said to folks, never give up on yourself, man. If you're working that 9 to 5, at least put 1 hour into your position of what you're wanting to do. If you can somehow carve out 2 to 3 hours, that's exceptional as well. Because sometimes I feel like we really truly want to do something different, but because we have to be a slave in one area of our life, we may not know how to understand the dynamics and build out of it. You hear Gary Vee say it all the time. Just keep going. Fuck what anybody else thinks. And I take that shit to heart. Because you know what? We're our own cheerleaders in this space. We're our own people that want to get things done. And a lot of folks don't really understand this mission, man. And that's the reason why you got to be around those ideal minds. the ones that are going to hold you accountable in the group chat, the one that's going to be on text messaging, the one that's going to be in your phone call conversations. Those are going to be the ones that simply sit here and hold you accountable. Sending those voice notes, checking up on you. They're cheering for you. You know what I mean? What episode you should create. I got people around me that are like that. You want to know why? Because we both know how to streamline what it is we want. Some folks that don't know what they want, they don't know how about the work-life balance, man. The ones that champion and be like, oh, I'd rather spend the weekend. I'd rather go to that movie, go to that dinner, go to that party, go bar hop, club hop. Well, they're living the life that they want to live. I don't ever demean those type of people, but I realize that, man, sometimes when you want to do something different, you got to separate from the pack. You got to be sometimes your own lone wolf on this mission and find the other group of wolves to simply sit here and build into that ecosystem, man. Because I'll tell you, not a lot of people know about that ability of making them sacrifices. The whole month of August, I've been talking about sacrifices. The whole month of August, I've been talking about how to get to the spot, right? Get you positioned. At any time you listen to this, you got to realize at this point in time, we're 4 months away from a new year, 2026. So it's about how you setting up for your success patterns. How are you positioning yourself for them success patterns? And how are you going to get there? How are you going to reach there? All right? We all have goals. But sometimes we get stifled by those goals because we have to be spending a lot of energy in one place. And that place could be that 9 to 5. I'm not discrediting people who work a 9 to 5, because I do, but it's positioning yourself and leveraging yourself by not overextending yourself to understand is you have the ability to make the difference. And that's the reason why I think some people get burnt out. Honestly, they do. Because they realize in one area, they got to spend 8 hours in this area. Then they got to eat. Then they got to sleep. Then they got to do this. And at any given time, you then want to back out on your dreams. And you can't do that, man. You can't do that. Sometimes you got to really look at the scope. You got to sometimes get the picture. And if you don't get the picture, readjust that frame. Readjust that frame. Where can I extend myself? Am I overextending myself? Because mental health is a big thing. Burnout is a big thing. And how do we stop that? By really anchoring down on ourselves, man. Because I'll tell you all this, stress is the leading contributor to a lot of different things in this world, right? That's where you see a lot of diseases start building out of because we're stressing ourselves out, right? We're overextending in this one area and we're not giving ourselves that time to rest, relax. I'm not saying that you got to work around the clock, but the balance system's got to come from your own microcosm, but we can't get comfortable. Because I think when people hear that work-life balance, they get comfortable. I think when people hear that work-life balance, they get insecure within their own mindset. And they're like, well, if I sit back today and I push off what it is I want to fully do and commit, well, I can get it done tomorrow or the next day or the next day. But that becomes a vicious cycle, right? That becomes a vicious cycle at the end of the day. So what do? You got to have your agenda. You have to have your calendar. You got to time block what it is I can do. If you work today, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, well, guess what? You have the first thing in the morning to say, for instance, get that workout done. Or at nighttime, you have that ability after you're done work to get that workout done. But then I get some people are going to say, well, I can't work out during the evening because I may have kids or I have other commitments. Well, then you got to make some sort of sacrifice in your life. And I'll tell you what that sacrifice is going to be because I see a lot of y'all doing it. A lot of y'all spending that time on those apps, over consuming, doom scrolling, right? Nobody says you can't watch a show on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or Disney Plus, but limit to maybe one show. Finish your work first before you enjoy the luxury and the play, right? It's okay. A lot of people ain't going to resonate with what I'm saying. But if you want it, you make things happen. You adjust your schedule. You adjust your time. You make little tweaks, right? You make those little tweaks if you want to get things done. Rome wasn't built in a year. But it's with us to simply sit here and understand is where do we find our own balance system? Don't listen to the fancy dancy. Is there such thing as a work-life balance? Balance starts with you. Nobody else. It starts with you. Because the brain, the body, the mind, the soul can only take on so many things. You got to ask yourself is, what do I truly want to accomplish in life? What do I truly want to accomplish? Because you got to remember, anytime you wake up in the morning, your 2 feet hit the carpet, or they hit that hardwood floor, or they hit that tile floor. The next opposition is going to be is if you're putting it into slippers or you're putting it in the socks. You wake up, you walk to the washroom, you got to look at yourself in that mirror. And you got to ask yourself is, how am I going to start to be great? Right? We need to have those positive affirmations in our world. Doesn't matter if you're working at 9 to 5. Doesn't matter if you're a content creator. Doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur. You have to have those morning affirmations ready. I'm great. I'm ready to conquer. I'm ready to seize the day. I'm never going to back down. I'm never going to give up. I know where it is I want to go and how I'm going to get there by any means necessary. I bend, but I do not break. I do not give up. I push forward to the task, to the mission, or the goal because it's inside of you. Balance actually truly starts with you, nobody else. No matter what fancy words are going on in the ecosystem of the algorithms, it starts with you. How you get there, how you push there is by championing to be your own cheerleader sometimes. Heck, you could be in a relationship. You could have that husband, you could have that wife. If they're not rallying and they're not championing you, you know what situation that you're in. If it's that boyfriend or if it's that girlfriend and they're not rallying and they're championing with you, you know what type of situation you're in. You need to start disassociating from those mindsets that have those limiting beliefs and start pushing yourself into the right direction to know where you're going to be going. Work-life balance truly starts with yourself. No one else, with yourself. So always understand 24 hours in a day and 9 times out of 10, you're working either 4 to 6 to 8 hours of that day. You may have commute, which is anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes up to an hour. Total, to work and back from work. The next scenario and situation is going to be is understanding time blocking your sleep patterns and your sleep schedule. That's 6 to 8 hours. So when you break that down into the pie graph, you will have your understanding and ample opportunity moments of knowing what else needs to be complete in your day. How you do it is how you get there, but you need to be around the right minds that are going to elevate you and push you and champion to the whole entire level. And if you can't do it yourself, guess what? There's the coaches, there's the therapists, and there's people that are in accountability groups in your own situation of life, in your own cosm of life. Maybe it's that Instagram friend that you made friends with that's actually trusting and believing in you. Maybe it's that network and connect that you may know in another city or another country. Sometimes you got to simply dial in with the people that are right for your mental health and remove the ones that are wrong for your mental health. Who's with me? Work-life balance. It starts with you. Always with you. No matter what anybody's saying. Doesn't matter what corporation is saying, work-life balance. Doesn't matter if it's your mom or your dad or your brother or your auntie or your uncle or your grandfather or your grandmother. Work-life balance starts with you and you only. Know where to put your time. Know where to put your energy. And I'll tell you right now, when you lock in, when you zone in on that Superman laser vision, you know what it is you want in life. And trust me, you'll get it done by any means necessary. Never give up on anything you want to do in life, people. I cannot stress that enough. 8.5 years, I've never given up on this podcast. 8.5 years, I've simply sit here and I push myself into going to the level of where it is I want to go to. You want to know why? Because I know what I want. I know where I'm going. And the right people are going to champion me there. And I'm telling you, you sometimes got to disassociate from the minds that no longer want to be there. You sometimes are in these situations where people don't even care to elevate you anymore. They're just watching you and they're hating you and they're giving you them side-eye looks. Just really understand, survey that land sometimes and you'll see what I'm talking about. Y'all have it inside yourself. Mitchell Port Unleashed podcast each and every day. Each and every day, You got a Netflix archive series of things to watch, to binge watch. You got topics from business to entrepreneurship to overcoming adversity to relationships to whatever you name it, to sports athletes, to influencers. Anything you want on this channel, it is here. But it's for you to pour into yourself. It's for you to pour in this database. It's for you to simply sit here, like, share, comment, subscribe. And I love and I appreciate every single person that visits this channel, that visits this podcast. We 8.5 years of continuing pouring into y'all. And I'm telling you, we ain't going anywhere yet. We just getting warmed up for the last 8.5 years. I'm so excited for what's in store for a lot of y'all in this community. Make sure you look at the links in the descriptions, the Instagram, how to join, be a member to this channel, how to book me for a consultation. It's all there for y'all. Love and peace. Let's go to keep on growing. And y'all understand this. You have it inside yourself to know better, to simply do better. So let's keep on going and keep on growing.